Schools are set up to be the equalizer of opportunity. That was the mandate early on, was that we would use education to promote merit, to promote talent, and so theoretically you'd want to make sure that all kids, regardless of background, got similar educational opportunities. But that's not what we do. Obviously, if you go to school in the South Bronx, you get a very different education than if you go to schools in Scarsdale.
My name is John Ambrosio. I am an assistant professor in the Department of Educational Studies. I teach multicultural education, social foundations of education. I also teach graduate courses in sociology of education and educational ethics. I lived in New York City and worked in New York City for almost a decade, and I worked at the department, the Board of Education in Brooklyn, New York, and my job was to go out and collect data and to do observations and to do evaluations of schools and programs. And so I visited schools all over New York, and I saw the kind of segregation that Jonathan Kozol talks about in his book firsthand, where some schools were, 98% black or black and Hispanic, other schools almost a similar percentage white. So.
In 1954, the Supreme Court ruled that segregation in public schools was unconstitutional in the landmark case Brown v. the Board of Education. The decision overturned the 1896 Plessy v. Ferguson ruling that sanctioned separate but equal segregation of the races, ruling that separate educational facilities are inherently unequal. In 1971, the Supreme Court upheld that busing was a legitimate means for achieving integration of public schools, though it was largely opposed. In 1981, Indianapolis public schools began busing nearly 7,000 African American students to white schools in 6 different Indianapolis townships. Under increased pressure to end forced busing, in 1992, the superintendent of IPS argued that the desegregation plan had simply eroded, and busing ended. Since then, IPS has become increasingly segregated once again. Funding inequality in today's schools is a result of several factors. The economic worth of the businesses and homes in the area a school serves determines the amount of money able to be taxed and collected for schools to use. If there is little money to tax, a school will receive little money in return. This graph shows the sources of school funding. As you can see, over 1/4 of funding comes from local property taxes. Of all the children under the age of 18 that are living in poverty, 74% are either black or Hispanic, while only 12% are white. This means that minority students are greatly overrepresented in poverty-stricken schools, which has led to the resegregation of public schools. In the United States, the wealthy make the rules for the educational system. Those who control the money frame the funding debate. What is good for the system starts with the satisfaction of wealthy lawmakers' needs first. Oftentimes, policymakers watch out for the well-being of their children's schools first, those schools most often being upper-middle-class schools. The most important thing every teacher needs to do is to become educated on the presence of segregation in today's schools. Jonathan Kozol's books, Shame of the Nation and Savage Inequalities, provide shocking insights into the state of today's urban schools. Pedro Noguera's book, The Trouble with Black Boys, can also provide insights and examples of segregation and the effects it has on students. For more information on the resegregation of today's public schools, teachers can watch The Little Rock Nine 50 years later. Teachers can also be aware of and extinguish the segregation they see within their own classrooms. This can be done by including texts from diverse perspectives that are representative of all students. In order to find books from diverse perspectives, teachers can visit the website www.multiculturalchildrenslit.com. Teachers should also stay involved in district meetings in order to ensure that their students are being represented in the decisions being made. Teachers can also speak up at these meetings to begin enacting change in the way districts are mapped out, therefore being an advocate for the integration of schools today. Finally, when you are looking for your first teaching job, find a school that provides opportunities for you to work toward the goals you have set for yourself and your students.
As a teacher, I think you should have sort of a larger vision of what you want to accomplish as a teacher. It's not just a job. Teaching is something different. You want to have a sort of a bigger picture, a bigger goal as a teacher. What is it that you want to accomplish as a teacher? What's your purpose in teaching?